I remember sitting in a breakout session during my wife's residency orientation, specifically for significant others. They gave us this letter discussing and outlining just how busy the new residents were going to be, particularly throughout their intern year. They emphasized that there was not going to be much free time, and that as a result, many family functions would be missed. Looking back, that breakout session was a little weird, but I did get some good information from it. It also further emphasized my game plan. What's up, you guys? My name is Tony Raya. Thanks again for joining me for the second video of this little series. I haven't named it yet. Maybe I'll name it Living with a Doctor. I don't know. If you haven't checked out the introduction to the video, do me a favor, push pause, and go check out that first. Or don't, whatever. You do you. In this series, I will be discussing how my wife survived intern year and residency in general. Again, this is all from my perspective, a non-medical perspective. So do with that what you may. As the title indicates, in this video, I will be discussing what my wife needed, but honestly couldn't say or ask for. I haven't experienced residency firsthand, so take it as you may. However, as someone who was surrounded by overworked and sleep-deprived interns, I would say that the key to succeed and excel as an intern is to be organized and to stay motivated. Way easier said than done. We currently have friends throughout the country who have either completed residency or in their last year of it. Based on what I have seen and conversations I've had with others, the fact that residency is a challenge is unanimously agreed upon, regardless of the program you attend. Up until this point, the objective was study, 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 and perform well on the next exam. Now it's for real. You don't just feel the pressure of performing well, but you do so with more responsibility. As my wife went into residency, I went in with the mentality of absorbing as much of the stress away from her as I could. I knew that it was an exciting time in her career, and I wanted her to enjoy it. As a non-medical professional, I knew that I wouldn't understand much of what she was going through. However, I was determined to help in whatever way I could. I'll be completely honest, there were times when she would come home completely drained and I didn't know what to do. I'd feel helpless. I would constantly try to come up with different ways to boost her morale, but they didn't always work. It wasn't until I could fully answer 3 questions that I felt things got a bit more manageable. How can I assist her to take care of herself? How do we balance mandatory fun? How do we make the most of the little time spent together? To clarify, I was using these questions as objectives. It was my belief that if I successfully completed each of these objectives, her time as an intern would be a lot more manageable and enjoyable. In this video, I will be focusing on the first objective, how to assist the intern in taking care of themselves. My first objective was to aid her in any way possible to ensure she was taking care of herself. Now, this may all seem obvious and cliche, but naming the different components really allowed me to hone in on what actions I could actually take. In order to help my wife take care of herself, I focused on 5 things: eating, sleeping, exercising, social health, and mental health. Again, I'm fully aware that all of these seem very fundamental, but just, again, naming them and actually taking action really helped. So when it came to eating, fundamentally, I just wanted to make sure she ate. Sometimes she would come home and prefer to go straight to bed than to eat. So in order to avoid that, I would try to have dinner already ready, maybe pre-made meals that she could grab and go. For example, early on when she would just come home and sleep, I would wake up earlier, make sure she had like a quick burrito to grab or a cereal bar, anything, so she could get some food in her belly. Sleeping. When it came to sleeping, I wanted to make sure I set the mood. And before you get any fancy ideas, fortunately that's not the mood I was setting. What I was trying to do, I was trying to create a relaxing and stress-free environment. When it comes to my wife, she hates things on the countertop. So I would take a few extra steps and moments before she would arrive to make sure nothing was on the countertops and she could just get away from all that stress she just got done going through and come to a place where she could just find peace. Another thing too, to kind of set the mood. Before I knew about blackout curtains, I found myself stacking a bunch of our pillows in front of our windows and then nailing a bunch of sheets in front of the windows when she would be working nights. That way the room could be blacked out so she could sleep throughout the day. Exercising. Now, I'm not gonna get into the benefits of exercise. There are numerous studies that show and justify the reason you should do exercise. However, it was anecdotally my experience. I wanted to help her by, just showing that the physical movement would help get her mentally unstuck. And whether or not she was going to the gym or doing things at home, I would encourage her to kind of join Theo and I for a walk or something, so she could get some physical activity in. And again, we all know the importance and impact that exercise has on staying fit and healthy and allowing us to feel good. Now, when it came to social health, I actually found this one pretty interesting, and at times it would be one of the more difficult ones. I often found myself being the liaison between my wife Avery and our family, and sometimes even the outside world. So early on, specifically in our intern year, both our family, my side and her side, would contact me asking her how she was. I know my mom was very scared of even talking to me on the phone or anything because she was afraid that she would wake her up or disturb anything she was doing. But it did take a lot, being that person that contacted him, and oftentimes, on the flip side said, yeah, she is very busy. And what kind of was a realization for me, besides rarely seeing her because she's out working, was when we would come home, we'd be home at the same time, and I would ask her if she saw maybe this viral video or meme or something, and she would say no, she hadn't. And I was like, wow, everybody's seen it, but no, she's working. This is going to be kind of getting into the next video of the series. However, for the most part, and I'm sure they're all pretty similar, when you go to residency, they do a pretty good job of making and planning different social events, and I would encourage her to go, whether it meant I'm driving her or whatever. I can only do so much and hear her out, but it was an opportunity for her to talk to her peers and other people that were going through some of the similar things as she was. And on the flip side of that, I would also try to encourage her when possible to come in my social circle so she could experience things outside of medicine. And that wasn't just my doing, that was also very important for her. She indicated early on that would be a way for her to feel less entrapped in her little world or kind of stuck. Those are just kind of strong words, but it was, I think, ultimately a way to try to prevent and mitigate burnout, was to do other things. And then this one I find pretty serious in any regards, mental health. And obviously I'm not a professional, and it's gonna be different for everyone. I know what works for me, not necessarily the same thing that works for my wife. So when asking her what things did I do right in order to help your mental health throughout residency, and the two main things she told me was just being supportive and understanding. And I knew exactly what she meant. So as I mentioned previously, sometimes I would have a pre-made dinner all ready for her that I spent a little time doing just to kind of spoil her, try to make her night, and she would just either not eat, or there were numerous amount of times where it's I'm sorry babe, I just want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And there was no reason in getting upset, right? If anything, I felt bad. I was just happy she was eating. If you do have a loved one, if you're in my situation, it's hard. It's difficult. When we first moved here and people are like, oh, am I ever gonna meet your wife? And all the jokes of oh, is she real, blah, blah, blah. It gets old, it does. But obviously she's my partner and who I chose to be with. I knew what I was getting into when I started dating her. Again, from my perspective, when times do get tough because it sucks, there's nobody to really get mad at. Oftentimes I just, anecdotally again, there'd be times sometimes where I was just upset, and I was upset with her because I wasn't with her, which is all very silly. Just know that they're in the same boat for the most part, and also I didn't want to take anything away. Like I said, I knew it was an exciting time for her, and again, just based on shows and stories I've heard, but I'll just say hospital time is different than real time. And what I mean by that is they're always going. There's not a time where you punch out. People are getting hurt and sick left and right 24/7, right? So you have to continue the machine. And in doing so, because residency is a time to learn, there might be different opportunities where you can experience other things, and it's to your benefit maybe to stay a little longer, go in a little earlier to get that experience, right? And as a non-medical partner, I have to be understanding and supportive of that, right? As she continues to learn. Now, later on in the future, that's gonna change, right? Maybe you gotta come home for happy hour and stuff like that. Although the focus of this video is on intern year of residency, I do find myself doing some of these things in order to help my wife find a little peace in the midst of all this chaos. And I'm not here to get political, and I'm by no means asking for anybody's pity or asking you to feel sorry. However, what I do want to say is, with everything going on in the world, I'd like people to see and realize that we truly are all going through this together. And I'd love to see us just support one another rather than letting all these outside forces divide us, you know, because at the end of the day, you got this, I got this, we got this. You know what I mean? Like, so let's go out and do this thing. Just let's do it together. So yeah, if you found this video helpful and maybe interesting, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It'll help with all this YouTube brujeria, and who knows, maybe I'll actually feel like I deserve a little bit of abuelita's chocolate. Thanks again for watching. Remember to take care of yourself, check in on your loved ones, and help someone you can. I'll catch you guys in the next one.